All right. Is anybody in this meeting? No, there's nobody in here. There should be a lot of people in the meeting, shouldn't there?
Well, usually there is.
Meredith is on the thing.
They're all on the,
Brooke,
so I can't for some reason get the right Zoom up.
Zach.
Let me look at the schedule. Oh, I see Mr. Tomey.
I hear something.
Yay, I see somebody.
There we go.
Yay, I was so worried. It's my week to make mistakes. Thankfully, it's Wednesday. I'm almost half done. Okay, so,
Anonymous Wolf?
yeah, Anonymous Wolf. All right, you got your agendas.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for your patience with me today.
Okay, call to order verification meeting notice.
Posted on the web.
Yep, okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Blazinski, Mr. Brisboy,
Yes.
Mrs. Behrens, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Manning, Mrs. Peterson. Yep.
Kabam.
That gives me an in. How was it?
There you go. Thank you. Okay, approval of the agenda.
Also moved.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 4 then, approval of the minutes of the July 27th, 2020 meeting. Any
Here they are.
additions, corrections?
I didn't see anything when I went
Good
through.
to me.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Moved by Mrs. Peterson,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Blazinski. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unopposed? Motion carries. 5 then, citizens forum. Any citizens wishing to speak?
So our Zoom
You're
people,
on the agenda, so you don't have.
our Zoom people are all muted.
Well, they know how to unmute themselves.
Okay,
So.
okay.
Okay, we're good?
Looks like it.
Okay, then 6, committee reports and minutes. 6-1, finance and personnel from earlier this evening.
Okay, we started out with $10,000 to CDI computer sales for 16 Dell computers and CDW government for $4,028.36 for parts from Cisco. We used some upper 90 money for that. 50480, we have annual fee for a program that we use to get substitute teachers in, and that's $3,365.69 to Frontline Technologies. Then we had EMC Insurance Company for $45,292. It's our various insurances that we have every year for liability, property, workman's compensation, and fidelity bond premiums. And we had train the trainer fee for $5,000 for sources of strength. We got Kyle Lang trained on that. It'll be paid for by grant money, but just wanted to bring it up because it's going to be a pretty stressful year, and I think we should all tap into those resources. And we had $2,685 to Strang Heating Electric for more wireless access points. We're doing our best to make sure that families without internet can have a way to get all that stuff. Then we discussed blacktop options for widening the bus lane and then for the new parking lot too. And we discussed Acer tablets. I think we talked about 60 of them, but then you said 75. There were 75 on there.
60 were already approved. We need to talk about approving the other 50.
Okay, and that's for the K2. They wanted touch screens. That's where they're going tablets because, you know, they're littler, so it probably is easier. And then we talked about hand washing stations they have portable ones, but then you need to empty out the dirty water afterwards. So they have some where you can take out like a water fountain, which we aren't using this year anyway, and putting them on there, and then it hooks right up to the plumbing, so you don't have to worry about emptying the dirty water. So we really liked those. You guys have anything to add to that or no? Okay.
Any other additions, comments, questions for finance and personnel? Seeing none, go on to 6-2 then, buildings and grounds meetings from a week ago.
Mrs. Blazinski pretty much stole my thunder. We discussed the addition of the parking lot and the bids on the, whether we blacktop or we seal coat, and also the concrete out front, we understood what the red dots meant on the concrete now. Adding technology, we talked about the handheld devices, what type of devices. Adam has chimed in via Zoom to kind of give us an update, and we talked about the cost and what we had. We also went and looked at the possibility of a new office area, having some construction done in the front office for Brooke Hackl, who is going to be our HR, as we section off or basically construct a new office area for her, and what that will entail. And at the end of the meeting, after the meeting, we went over and inspected the site. Under new business, we discussed about the portable sinks and that. And then the cleaning regimen for this fall, Frank was in here and talked about what we were doing. We had a discussion on, the basically electronic vaporizers, and also the routine that the maintenance and cleaning staff will be going to every day. And discussion on third, fourth, and fifth grade entrance, whether they come in over there or at another entrance. And then we discussed a variety of other things for the school on the group for pertaining to building and grounds. So that's basically it.
Mike's waiting to start the amphitheater till he gets the boulders.
And he emailed me this week because I'd run in and talked to him about using our auger, and he thought he could. That saved him some money. But he cannot get those boulders, so I don't know if that's going to be a go this fall or not, because they just don't have it. I think they got to get them when they're crushing or doing things right, and none of those are available right now, those big flat ones. So he's just going to go ahead and do the shade sales on the other part now, so that's done, and the other one they can get to it.
So does the school, when he and I talked about the auger, he needed a deeper one?
When I talked to him about ours, he thought it would
Your
work.
own or the school's?
Ours,
Your own, got it.
because he
Okay.
thought it would work. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would do 90% of it, and then there wouldn't be any cost. So
Okay,
it'd save some money. So, any other questions, comments for? Okay. Then 6.3 policy, July 15th.
Yeah, I forgot to bring my notes on that.
Oh, they're up there.
Yeah, I can't read it.
Oh.
Want me to print it, Susan? Or
I can do it.
No.
I'll just pull mine up.
Okay.
So we talked about the school, we tabled the school fleet safety program. We talked a lot about Mr. Lechner have proposed a new policy for advancement into a higher level classes, and we actually brought that to you guys right away at the end of the month, so it's already been approved. And then we reviewed, and if you look, I'll review, and we didn't change anything. Of course, we always correct spelling errors and punctuation errors and stuff. You guys gave us permission to do that, but 90% of that was review. The big bulk of the discussion was talking about the advancement from 8th grade.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, if not, we'll move into 7 then reports. 7.1 district administrators reports.
So mine is just a little bit of a story, basically. Everybody's been attending all of these meetings and asking lots and lots of questions, and I always hear a different point of view. When I was in college, I remember asking, this is a dumb question. Can you please tell me what, we've been in this subject for a while, this laissez-faire stuff. I said, this is a dumb question. I don't know what this is. And my professor said, if it's a true question, honestly asked, it's not dumb. And then he turned to the whole lecture hall and said, how many of you are having problems with this concept of laissez-faire? And like half the hands went up. And I was astounded. So I've tried to always use that as a lesson for myself, that a question honestly asked is a good question. So we are always being asked questions. This is a major time for people to ask questions. I appreciate them. And to quote my professor, no question is a dumb question, so keep them coming. We want all our students and staff safe at Ithaca Public Schools. And then for those of you who care, I put the definition. You are welcome to come on in. There's a table right here if you want to sit. Or you can sit in one of
Or you
the
can sit in the
comfy
comfy chair.
chairs.
It don't matter.
Doesn't matter. Come on in. We have chairs everywhere.
I don't want to contaminate anything.
No, we're good. So that's my report. Sorry, it's a little bit.
Any other
Easy.
questions, comments? for district administrator's report? Seeing none, 7.2, principals report, Ms. Shane.
So, Mrs. Proudy, Mr. Leffler, and I meet several times a week to collaborate to decide what needs to be done. Long-term subs have been hired. Mr. Paul Kaufman will be subbing from Mrs. Wyndham, and Mrs. Tina Ramsden will be from Mrs. Mackenzie Richards. Both will participate in trainings via Zoom, while the substitute teachers will be here in person. This will allow them to stay home with their new babies, but also know what changes are occurring. I have a recommendation for a fifth grade teaching position. We have great applicants. I thank Susan, Mrs. Proudy, and Ms. Washoe for coming in to conduct interviews. We've had an elementary staff meeting last week, and another is planned for this week. We're working through how the school day will be in light of safety restrictions. I'm grateful for all for helping with these decisions. Parent survey results are still coming in. We sent a family letter, and it's linked here if you want to see all the different things. At this point, we sent it August 7th. It went out actually in the mail. All the different things, the difference between face-to-face and what virtual means here. We had a visual of comparing virtual and in person, so they kind of could tell what does it mean. We had a survey that they did, a transportation survey, safety for riding the bus, when they get dropped off, if they drive, the 4K plan, safety measures, again, ride the bus, if you're being driven, students drive, social distancing and masks, and how to actually wear the mask like you're supposed to. What time we're gonna be open, cohorts, what that means, lobbies, and all the different things to that point that we had decided of how to go about business at school. It's our intent to continue to inform parents as we move forward. Mrs. Proudy continues her weekly research. We're moving to using Schoology as our learning management system. Staff trainings will be several times between this week and when school begins. We had about half the staff here today for 4 hours. Curriculum review. The Department of Public Instruction continues to review. As a staff, we will stay current and adapt our instructions. And there's the content standards, if you're ever interested in what DPI tells us every kid needs to know and do by the end of the grade. And we will continue aligning content standards to student learning objectives.
Any questions, comments, Commissioner?
Can we go back to me? I forgot something. Just found out today, we got the SEL grant for $25,000. So I'm very excited to say that we can hire a part-time social emotional learning coach, and we're gonna buy some books and do some training, and there's some extra money for the staff that wanna be in on that to learn about social emotional learning. And it's geared toward the middle school and high school just a little bit so that we can better serve our students, so.
Okay, it's going under Ms. Shane's report, so she's getting credit though.
All right, there you go.
Finally, I get credit.
You should have seen me. Everybody's like, what's up with Julie? I'm like,
Any other questions, comments for Ms. Shane? If not, then 7.3, principal report, Mr. Lechner.
Like both Kathleen and Julie said, we've been meeting almost daily, trying to figure out the best way to safely and effectively serve our students and staff. We also know that things may change, but we will follow what the board directives are and what the county, DPI, and CDC recommend. We've also been having conferences with numerous school districts in our area as to what they are looking for to start the year. Kathleen and I are on a principal meeting about once a week with probably 15 to 20 different principals, everyone giving different ideas and then also telling what they're going to start with. And again, some are similar, some are virtual, and some also have a hybrid. We've also been very involved with different districts as far as the fall sports season. Again, this is all over the place. I think you've all read that some of the conferences in the state have canceled. Others have said they're going to play. The WIA has a big meeting tomorrow or Friday, June?
tomorrow.
So hopefully we'll get a little more directive from them. Both Kathleen and I had virtual staff meetings. We were extremely happy to report that the overall tone of the meetings were very positive. The staff has been very patient about the plans that we've been presenting. There's been 4 different ones. I think we're at 5 now. And they've been excited about getting back to educating their students, whether it be in person, virtual, or a combination of both. I'm just very excited to start the school year, knowing that we have the staff and the mindset to tackle any of the situations that are presented to us. Any questions on that?
Any other questions, comments for Mr. Lechner? All right, not hearing any, moving on to 7.4, business manager report.
So Mrs. Richards attached her report with all of her required reports and when they have been filed. She is off on a very well-deserved vacation. She also put the upper 90 because we had asked, and you can see the amount left over to spend, 16,675.83, but I did do some more figuring, and we'll talk about that when it comes time to approving the technology. Yeah, welcome to Sierra. It's wonderful, and my the office has people laughing in it, so it's just been fun.
Any other questions, comments? None? Okay, moving to old business then. 8.1, discussion possible action on implementing the first steps for next year.
So we have been obviously working on finalizing all of the last minute things. We've had a really dedicated group work on room assignments for the high school and middle school and figuring out schedules, and they did a great job. And then Shane and I did some walking from room to room, and we changed it all, and they're willing to come back and fix everything because we switched it up, but it's better for the staff.
We looked at who had chosen virtual as the results were coming in, and so that can change the number of kids in a room, so that instead of having one class and one grade in 3 rooms, we can put it down in 2 rooms. So
It makes a difference.
Yep.
And so they were very excited that we could potentially do that. So the biggest thing that we want you guys to discuss tonight is whether or not we will have 4 days of in-person and 1 day of virtual, or 5 full days in school. As an administrator, I have been listening to the teachers. We have a really dedicated staff and they're hardworking, and I think the fact that we're trying to get them to do new things and teach online and in class and worry about everybody's health, it's going to be a very stressful beginning of the school year anyway. I believe that having that 1 day of virtual will assist our teachers to be better prepared for the world of virtual, period. Because we're going to have kids 5 days virtual along with the 4 days. So they still have to teach virtually every single day. They'll get better at it faster if they have that 1 full day. So in my opinion, I think we should do that, but I give it to you guys to discuss.
And in reality on that Wednesday, they still will be teaching part of the day.
Yep.
Virtually, so.
Yep, it's still a teaching day.
Yes.
It gives this, the Crowns crew and that time to, do a deep cleaning and hit some of those places they don't get to. We, in the listening session on Monday, it was overwhelmingly, that was what the staff was wanting. And I think almost every school district around is going to that.
So Weston, River Valley,
Center.
and Center are all doing 4 and 1.
And that aligns us with our lunch program a little better, to do it the same day versus Center does.
And they're all doing Wednesday also.
It also offers up a nice training for the families for, we have snow days, or if there ends up being more COVID in the county, we have to go all virtual. They won't be starting from scratch. They'll already know what we're doing because of the Wednesdays.
And they talk.
A plan in place.
They talk that could be a day where, with them knowing that that's a virtual day, that on, Monday and Tuesday, they can kind of prepare their lesson plans to do, so, that they wouldn't have to do as much teaching. It'd be more of a kind of a, answer online and things like that. So they, by doing it that, they're prepared for going that. And if we would have to go all the way.
Yep.
It's an excellent point that it's
They'll be better at it faster, that's.
tested. So how will that affect our overall minutes?
I think it'll still be fine because we're still teaching on Wednesday.
Okay, so can we take full credit for that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Kristen was
they
here
could-
today. Yep.
they could talk to, like, they could still do like almost like office hours where the kids could
They could
contact them. and
still
ask
do
questions.
reduced number of minutes in a class. In fact, Kristen came today, so Schoology, one of the reasons that I was really in for it was the fact that I understood that they could track mouse movement, and they couldn't, but in 2 weeks they will. Like, that is one thing Schoology is upping its game, so the kid can't even, and she gave an example, as an English teacher, I might give them something to read, but they're gonna read for 20 minutes. It kicks them out. It says they're not engaged, so then where the teachers have to like give them things to do during their reading so that it tracks their time in the class. So the analytics are there, and the expectation on our part for both elementary all the way through is part of the day will be either small group teaching, having them do some work and report back, turning in some things so that they can count.
Yeah, so it will be all 5 days of teaching.
And I will, to be honest, with the 3 districts surrounding us doing it, I will definitely contact them and ask, what are their plans for attendance? Because there's no reason we shouldn't be doing similar. If this is what they've discovered through whoever they ask, and, to make sure that.
Are any of the neighboring districts using Schoology too?
Yeah,
Oh,
River Valley hasn't been trained yet. Weston is, and Richland Center, yes. Richland Center has actually used Schoology for about 5 years, but they upped their game this past. Like, high school had been using it, and they pushed it all the way down to elementary.
okay.
We did have a meeting, I was told by WASDA, my professional group, that that I should be aware that we might be having a couple of emergency meetings. One was today at 2. And they told us that we can still apply for a waiver on hours. If the explanation is due to COVID, we didn't feel like we were gonna get our minutes in. So that's all, I'm not gonna do it now, obviously, but it's always an option as a district that we can do that. We can have a very nice discussion, talk about, if we're really close, talk about the fact that we had to shut down for 2 full weeks or something, we don't know. And so that's an option yet. So it's not like we're just stuck. We could still apply for
Is there a timeline on that, or is it the end of the year?
the end of the school year.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be fine on minutes.
I do too, but it's always nice to know back there that
Well,
it's a possibility.
we've already discussed that the long-term snow day
Right.
thing or cold is
Done.
probably a thing of the past, because we can just click on and say, we're going,
Virtual today, yep.
Snow day.
everybody should be pretty well trained.
And we have later in our COVID, our student handbook addendum, with, if a student, say, violate the mask or whatever and gets in trouble and gets sent home for the day, not a suspension, as long as they participate virtually, it will count as a day. If they don't, then they're absent, and then truancy can come, or somebody gets quarantined. As long as they're engaging, their attendance is good.
They would expect to be held up to the same things as
Yep.
any kid that
Yep.
signed up to do virtual in the first place.
Right.
It'd be the same.
Well, I feel very strongly, I think you all know that, I brought it up in the very beginning that I thought it should be the high school. I know that the parents circle, the majority want the 5 days a week, but I think if we have to backpedal, that's gonna be harder than starting off with the 4 with the 1 off. And I do think in being all involved in the restart meetings, and that there are just a lot of different duties that are gonna fall on the staff. And if we start having them be ill or stressed out, we're gonna be in trouble, because I don't think there's gonna be the number of substitute teachers out there.
And we all know, we talked about it in the listening session too, that, you know, there's three parties involved in this, the teachers, the students, and the parents. And, you know, the parents are under stress too, you know, they're dealing with it on the outside and things like this, but I think it's a nice compromise where, you know, we're trying to do things that we know we would all rather be able to go 5 days, no problem, but also the same thing, you know, we've got to consider the overwhelming feeling of the staff, and that's, I said, that the whole plan, if, you know, we start losing a bunch of teachers, the plan becomes virtual 5 days quickly, so.
Right now, that's what it is.
And it should be that virtual training that would go on, because, you know, unless a lot of things change, you know, there might be that inevitable that we're gonna have a time frame in this next school year where it will be all virtual. And this way they could be a little prepared, and if we make this decision and get it out there, now parents have time.
But we do have to make a decision tonight for that purpose.
I would like to suggest, our first 2 weeks are both 4-day weeks. So we start on Tuesday, because that's September 1, that's 4 days, and then the next week is Labor Day. So we don't go on Monday, 2 Mondays in a row. And I haven't even had a chance to talk to Chris and Kathleen about this, but to have them go to 1 day and then off, and then 2 more, and then the next week 1 day and then off. I'd like us to do those first 4 days, 2 weeks, because we have it planned for the social emotional learning every day. So the first day is gonna be all about safety and mask wearing and touching your face and how to properly wash your hands. And also teaching the kids how to log on to Schoology, how to use it, all those wonderful things that the teachers are learning now, we have to turn around and teach to the kids. And we need to also have them teach it to their parents, because it's gonna be a really robust system. The parents are gonna need that help too. So I hope, if you guys are okay with this, we go first 2 full weeks, which are really 4-day weeks anyway. And then the following Wednesday would be our first Wednesday off.
So here's a question. Those first few days, or first day or whatever, where you're doing, you know, all of what you're doing, how are the virtual kids gonna get credit for not being absent that day?
They'll be able to log in. So the first hour, we're gonna do a delay schedule, like an hour delay schedule. So the elementary teachers can do that when it works best in their schedule.
Okay.
So they're gonna have to arrange that with the virtual kids, but you know, when you're at home, you don't need to worry about how to properly wear a
That's what I'm
mask and
saying,
stuff. Not saying they don't need it, they will if they exit their house. But with the getting together, and part of that is them relearning their peers and getting to know each other and stuff, so that's all gonna be built in. So the first hour,
Chris,
Got it.
it's got a speaker on. The first hour would be important for all the kids, just log into the Schoology, and middle school and high school are gonna be doing the same thing at the same time.
But you're asking about the kids that are home,
I'm saying,
and that we haven't, to be honest, we haven't really got to that point.
okay. I mean, like, if there's gonna be a teacher at the front of the room saying, this is how you do this, is how you do this, I mean, if you're gonna video that, then a kid can log in
Right.
watch it and get credit for not being absent.
Correct. Right.
Okay. And then, I had another question that's gone already. Oh, Schoology. So how are the virtual kids gonna learn Schoology if they're not here being taught? Are they just gonna get on it and mess around, or?
Nope, there's tutorials for that they will work through probably with the teacher virtually.
And how long will it be before we can start doing that? Because is it like an app you can download on a home system?
So all of that has to come out yet, Susan.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Just wondering the timing on it, so they have time.
So
to figure it out.
that might play in that first week. So although that the 4 and 4 is good, it might not work if we need to build a day where it's the virtual kids. Like, so what Kickapoo started today, and my friend Vicky said that they technically start with kids. The virtual kids come tomorrow and get trained how to do it, and then Friday they start the face-to-face with no virtual, and then Monday they start everybody, both face-to-face and virtual.
Okay.
So
So those details are.
it
getting
might
figured out.
be where we haven't worked those out, to be honest, so.
And to your point, with the kids at home, so, you know, we don't know how long this thing drags on, but if it drags on longer and, you know, we're saying they need to commit to a quarter. But what happens if you don't have those kids go through the training on how to wear the mask and do all that, and then the second quarter,
They come in.
they come in and they haven't gone through it. So I would say that you would need to, everybody just needs to log on and go through it, because
Yeah.
then you have the training, you don't have to redo it.
So,
That's the plan.
And Kristen, our tech trainer, she's going to talk next week to the staff about how to video conference and record and where to, you know, all that, and how to do short lessons. So, you know, it's just a lot of learning, so on everybody's part.
Any other discussion on that?
Are we
If
supposed to
not,
take a motion on
I would make a motion. I would make a motion that we go with 4 days face-to-face, 1 day virtual being Monday and Tuesday, face-to-face, Wednesday virtual, Thursday, Friday, face-to-face,
Except for the first 2 weeks.
except for the first 2 weeks, which will be worked out.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Moved by Mrs. Peterson, second by Mr. Brisbois, to go to a 4 day week, 4 day in person, 1 day virtual. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 then, discussion possible action on Sauk County recommendations.
okay, Mr. Lechner, did you want to talk about the baseball hat issue, or is that a non-issue for you?
That's in the,
That's in our,
That's in your thing? Perfect.
The handbook.
The handbook, yep, that part. So if you didn't get one, I have a couple extra ones, so they're laying around. I mentioned this on Monday.
Yeah.
I have communicated already with Richland County, and we have a meeting already to set one of these up for Richland County if possible. But in lieu of other guidance, I'm gonna try and use some of this because it's very well outlined. And we do reside in Sauk County also, so I have to pay attention to both. So there's 3 ways. There's the in-person, reduced, and minimal. So in-person is what we want every day. Everybody can be here. So basically, new case rate per 10,000 people. There's a number. If it's between 0 and 20, will be in person. If it's between 21 and 49, it's reduced capacity. And we don't have that option because we just went here, not here. So if we were to go to reduced capacity, we would immediately go to virtual. Some of the schools in Sauk County have like half occupancy things. So some kids go on Monday and Tuesday, and the other kids go on Thursday and Friday. We didn't plan for that. We're all or nothing. Community spread, and again, these are numbers coming from the county. COVID-like symptoms in the emergency room. So, and that's for somebody that would not, so if somebody that has asthma goes to the emergency room is having problems breathing, that's not a COVID-like symptom because they have it normally. So that's in addition to any normal symptoms that they would have. And then they do a 14-day running total on that. And again, the Sauk County figures it all out. And then the % positive tests across the community. We did ask if Sauk County were to open the day we talked about it, and they would be in a reduced capacity.
Sauk County schools.
Sauk County schools would be in the middle column, which means we would have been virtual. I don't know if that's going to change between now and school starts. It's kind of nice because we all work together. We're going to talk about if a child, we had many conversations about this. So we had another conversation with Rose this morning. She's been very, very helpful. If a child has been diagnosed, or an adult that works here has been diagnosed with COVID, I will get a phone call, period. So I'm not going to be sharing that information with the public, but I'll know who it is. And then I can help them with their contact tracing, because I can say, you need to talk to these 3 people. They'll know who that person was surrounded by. When we get to a certain number, so here it says district, perhaps if 5% of the district's students or staff, or a combination, are absent due to COVID-like symptoms that are abnormal for those individuals and are not isolated to one school or for us, the building. And basically that's, you know, you have one positive case. That means that you could potentially be investigated as a district because you have to do the contact tracing. So they're basically stating we're going to contact trace everything that's in our county. They're going to do the building if we get a positive case, a grade if we get a positive case, and a classroom if we get a positive case. So basically, anytime we get a case, it'll be investigated. And it sounds weird, but when you have multiple buildings in multiple towns, it matters a little bit more. And then they're talking about on the back is how they're going to communicate, and we are going to also communicate in this manner unless Richland County comes out with different guidance between now and the beginning of school, which, like I said, we have a meeting on it, but I don't think we're going to get that far.
But Rose did say that she's been in contact with Darren to try to set up this kind of thing.
Yep, and I got a time from her today, and I invited everybody already, so we have a meeting next week. So anyway, they're going to notify us. That was the big, we were worried, like, are we going to know if somebody here gets COVID? Because we just, you know, and I've been trying to prep the teachers about it too. I might just walk into your room and say, Ron, I'm sorry, you need to pack up and go home today. And you're just going to have to pack up and go home. And I can't tell you more than that because the nurse has to contact you. I can't share stuff. I can't say so-and-so has it. You were contact traced to that you might have gotten it at Walmart. How am I supposed to know? But you were a first, you know, you talked to that person for 15 minutes without a mask on. I don't know. So that's just how it's going to have to work. And it's going to be weird, but that's what's going to have to happen. So I have to kind of prep the staff for that and remind them of things that, you know, I can't tell you why that person had to go home. I can't tell you what anybody's test results are. It's going to be really hard for Ithaca because we like to know. Everybody likes to know. And most of it is because we care. That's our positive, but we just can't. So the staff is going to have to be aware of that a little bit. And we can't say, oh yeah, well, Mrs. Peterson got sent home today out of the first grade. No, we can't be saying that stuff either. We have to just zip it and keep it to ourselves. But that's a training issue that we will be working on.
So what happens if you get the call and it's a student that has to go home?
Then we'll have somebody go get the student and isolate the child, call the parents and have them come
Are
here.
we gonna have a designated isolation place or
Yeah.
something that we?
Right now it's the ISS room and we don't like that room because there's not a lot of air exchange. We really don't have a good spot. I mean, I could give up my office and we can open the windows then, but then I'd be in the ISS room the whole time. You know, we don't have a good spot to put ill kids. So we might have to set up a little triage station or something. We're still kind of working that out, but
Kind of block off that area outside. Do we need those doors all the time, or can we set up a temporary station during school and like
What-
before and after
what
we can still
doors?
use the doors
By my
outside their
office.
office? That area right
I
there?
thought about
Except
that.
it's visible, so it needs
No, what
to
I'm
be
saying, if you set up a, you know, if you get
One
those,
thing would be is, I'm thinking fire code.
fire, yeah.
Fire
that's what I
code,
was
yeah.
wondering if that was gonna be an issue. So
But I mean, it would be, you know, we could open the doors, at least there would be fresh air there. I mean, I've been kind of turning that around. The one thing we do need to make sure that, and Amber Birch is helping us with this, the person that deals the most with the children and adults that are ill or suspected that are ill will be getting a fitted N95 mask. The county has guaranteed that we can have those for those people. So our new school nurse and if probably going to be Mary Jo or Barb because they're by
and
default in
maybe
the
with the
office.
addition of a shield too.
Yep.
Yeah, they can have anything they want. We'll have gowns, gloves,
I was gonna say.
shields, the special N90, am I saying that right? N95 mask. I guess they're fitted. So they have to be measured. I don't know. I don't think I've even seen one, but we will have those for that stuff.
Yeah. Not this one's not, but I usually do.
Okay. But, so yeah, we're still working a little bit of that out, but I'm hoping that with guidance like this, we will be able to inform the staff and then the parents because we'll have less gray area, I guess, more delineated
I just
guidance.
want to bring this up. I know they're better than a lot of other masks, but N95s filter out particles down to 0.3 microns, and the coronavirus is 0.125 microns. So, I mean, I don't want anybody to get a false sense of security because they have an N95 on.
It's the social distance, the mask, and the hygiene.
That's why I just
all
want to
three.
throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just because they're fitted and everything's
Right.
great, they still only filter down to 0.3 microns.
Yep.
So,
Right.
Nope,
but
you
they
need
are
those
rated
two
as
things.
the best
yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why we're hoping to get some.
And that's why, you know, Steve, you asked about the students, so it is going to be essential those kids stay there 6 feet or more apart.
Mhm.
Because if they don't, and it's contact trace, back to, well, these kids were huddled together during recess, for example, those kids are gonna get isolated or quarantined. I mean, that's how it happens, so,
They're telling us at work, it's gotta be 6 feet and 15 minutes.
Right,
Right. And we had a huge discussion in the aforementioned meeting about 15 minutes. Does that, and they said within a 24-hour period. And I'm like, so you could talk to one kid for 5 minutes and then go up 4 hours later and talk to him for 5 minutes and go up 4 hours later and talk to him 5 minutes again, and that constitutes your 15 minutes. I was flabbergasted.
So I think the biggest thing is, you know, when we talked about this in the listening session too, is, you know, whether we're gonna have, you know, I know it's the teachers and I know that some parents are gonna wanna say, you know, we wanna, if there's this, you know, so if one kid is positive, then, you know, that room, that teacher, they're all gonna be isolating, you know. And the way we talked about it more is Rose would come in and she would do the determination, okay, so this kid was there, you know, do we think they were close? And so
she will call.
she would make the
Yep.
determination of whether that, it's not gonna be we get a positive case, that room's gone.
No.
The county nurse, the
Makes the
independent,
decision. Yes.
she's gonna do the evaluation and make the determination of who is quarantined, how many, and
She might talk to the teacher and
yes.
ask, in the last 2 days, did any of these kids, you know, who was around and for how long? But she said, because we're masking and regular sanitizing, that will help, so.
She very much agreed with the partitions we're having built for the individual. She's like, that sounds wonderful.
Elementary,
So that was a plus. And we talked about potentially if somebody was riding a bus for an hour and they were the first kid on, you know, last seat in, the kids in the front of the bus wouldn't have been affected because they're so far apart that the contact tracing would have been like maybe the last 3 seats of the bus versus the whole rest of the bus. Which kind of made sense to me too. So that's, when they do contact tracing, it's they ask very specific questions.
So on that bus route, are we gonna say that as the kids get on the bus, they're gonna fill from the back to the front, just so we don't have that
and
mingling?
families
Yep.
sit together and they'll have assigned seats.
Yep.
With their family, so they're gonna sit with siblings. And I think every other, there's some alternating thing, but all of our buses too, you know, like when I sit in the seat, I cannot see over top. I mean, those seats are, they're tall if you're sitting. Susan can maybe see over the seat.
I was gonna comment,
Yeah.
she's short too.
I'm not that short.
Well, all right.
Taller than she is.
I think that's it on this. Does anybody have any questions?
I guess the big difference is what Julie mentioned is we're either in, or if we get told that we have to reduce capacity, then we go all virtual. Teachers will still be here teaching, we'll still have, you know, all that will still continue.
And the reason is, we don't have the ability to cut capacity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We just don't have the room to do it, to go in half. The only way we would do it is go to the every other day thing.
Right.
But that would be a totally different discussion and a totally different time. But
We'll do some
just so
plans.
people know
You're
that
still
we're not
virtual.
just saying, oh, we're just going because we can't reduce, we don't have the space to get
Yeah,
our
it,
Right.
moved out to half capacity.
Right. Other bigger districts, they have bigger rooms, more rooms, we don't.
so some of them are going like every other grade. So
Yeah.
1, 3, 5 are in their elementary, and then 2, 4, 6 are the other days or something. So,
And like we even, so when we did our, based on numbers, splitting the classes up, I think in the high school, are 2 rooms that are not used every day. So, you know,
So that, and I think most everybody's aware of it, but when, in the early stages of this restart plan, that was gone through the school, every room, measured the footage, so we can have a kid here, can have a kid. This room can hold X number of kids. That's all. That was the first part of the planning.
Are we still at 13%? Because when we were at 10% virtually, you guys had it all figured out. And now we're at 13%, you said.
we're at
so-
15% as of
15
before,
now.
yep.
Okay.
15%.
So that frees up even.
And we
even
have
more space.
we have less than about 100 kids yet to come into the survey.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments on the Sauk County recommendations? Okay. All right, then 8.3, discussion possible action on fall 2020 athletics.
So Kathleen, I did link it to that. I can't print from here, so we can ignore the top part because it's cross-country and we're in a different, we co-op, so
Conversion Center, that's a D2 of that conference.
I can't print either.
I don't know why we can't print. So just go to the bottom. We can see the volleyball pretty good. So this was given to the superintendents today. The ADs came up with it. We tweaked it a little bit, and this is what we are gonna we're gonna discuss it again on Monday. We're hoping to be able to implement this. So we all agree, we're gonna start the season this way. No fans, no scrimmages, conference only, no tournaments outside of conference schedule. There's limited attendees at the pre-match conference. No handshaking, no fist bumping, any of that stuff. Visiting team serves 1 set, alternating teams serves the remainder of the match. They're not gonna switch benches. You have to use social distancing on the bench. Set procedure, move to center court for the coin toss. Scorers table even is broken apart. Face masks will be required by players, coaches, officials, and workers. So in my opinion, this is a really good way to start volleyball. If there's no spread, we could potentially then have fans or.
So right now, though, this means no fans, right, Julie?
Correct. Well, it says number 1 on right up 1, no fans.
Oh, yeah, good.
So my question is, so if we say we play Weston and then the next day Weston finds out they have, will we get notified the contract tracing?
Yes.
And this is still on the delayed schedule, not starting.
Yeah, this doesn't start until, they can start September 7th
With practice, right?
with practice. Cross country starts Monday. But cross country, and I mean, we can look at that. Basically, it's the same kind of idea that they're gonna, there's no fans, no scrimmages. Cross country is just gonna run. They're gonna do some delayed start. They have to wear their mask at the start, but as they're running then and separating, they can take it off because we don't want them running the whole, I forget.
5 kilometers, 3.1 miles.
Thank you. I'm like 3, no, it's not 6 miles. Anyway, so, but this is Ridge and Valley. I would imagine that we co-op with Richland. So I'm assuming that they're going through the same process. I just haven't gotten anything from them.
So do we have any conference games scheduled for before?
Zach has talked.
Zach, go ahead, Zach.
What I can tell you about cross country is Richland Center has a meeting on Friday. They're waiting till after the WIA to decide what's going to happen. So
Okay.
hopefully their AD will notify me Friday evening or Saturday or whatever, just to give us an idea. But they're waiting till Friday to make a decision.
Which makes sense because WIAA meets Thursday. So Richland is making the decision on Friday.
Okay. I was wondering if we had any conference, if they start their practices on the 7th, they can't do games until how many
7
practices?
days, I thought, right?
10 days of practice before a cross-country meet?
No, I meant
Volleyball.
volleyball.
Oh, I'm sorry, volleyball. Yeah, I think it's 10 days, isn't it? I think it's 10 days for everything.
So I'm sure there were games scheduled in that time period. Are they gonna just be rescheduled for after?
It depends on who they were scheduled with. So like we had 2 non-conference football games, we're not scheduling them.
Right,
So
This is volleyball, though.
I don't know who they were with.
okay.
So-
That's just the question.
It depends on who they were with. And if they got rescheduled, the 80s are taking care of that.
And they could do like they did with some of the baseball and softball, they could have a doubleheader. Volleyball, they usually don't play twice, they'll do that. No,
No.
so.
Can you scroll down to the volleyball? I just have a question. When it says the visiting teams, can you blow it up? I'm blind, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Visiting team will serve or whatever, what does that mean? Will serve in set one, alternating serve for remainder of match.
So they don't have to keep flipping a coin for every match.
Oh, it's just the coin flip. I was like, they know that the ball gets touched by the other team as soon as it's served, right?
It's gonna go really fast. 6 feet of social distance is gonna make it easy.
I'm
Games
so
will go
sorry.
quick.
No, we gotta
We
joke
do it
about
out loud.
it. We have to joke about it. You just, so, okay.
Can you guys table your decision on the pending the outcome of the WIA meeting on Thursday?
Well, I haven't brought anything to them to decide yet. I wanted to share what I had learned from the coach from our conference. Football is kind of whack with us being 11-man. Most of our conference isn't 11-man. And their games were everywhere. They were going like 2.5 hours to have an 8-man game. That's scary to me for kids. Just a lot of time in a vehicle just to go play. But we haven't really, right now, everything's kind of been kicked down the road just a little bit. We even have another, and I don't know if you guys want to have another meeting, but we could potentially have a meeting to talk about it before football even starts on September 1.
Most of these, we've had these on every meeting just for information.
I think they told us we couldn't start football until September 7th.
7.
Right.
I'm
That's
sorry.
also
You are
September
correct.
7th.
Sorry.
So that's what this is, this is what's being talked about, is all, we're not making any decisions or anything?
I don't think so.
We
I
could,
mean,
or we could do last
we-
one. Just tabled it.
Yeah,
So we
because
have-
we're waiting for the WIA to make a comment or
Yeah.
make determinations, which they did. And really the discussion was, we will not we don't have the ability to supersede what the WIA states. If they say things are done or shut down, then
Yeah.
we don't have a say in that.
And just like this, if the other 5 teams in the conference, say we're not doing anything, it makes our decision,
we could be the champ though. I'm sorry.
So we'll put it on just in case if there's something, if they would have made a decision today, then we could make a decision.
And this was up to date. I just got this today. So
So on football, who was left in our conference that we would play?
Seneca, Wazeeka Steuben, DeSoto.
Seneca, Wazeeka, Steuben's a co-op. isn't it?
Yep.
Yes, they're together.
They're
All
okay,
3 of them
okay.
are together.
Okay,
Oh, Seneca and Wazeeka Steuben?
well,
Yeah,
Wazeeka
it's been that
Steuben is
way
one
for-
school now.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
And
been that way.
Seneca.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Seneca and Wazeeka.
Students in there because they want to be recognized.
Yeah.
But, well, the conference realigned with all that. So you have Highland, Boscobel
Oh, that's right.
are in our
Riverdale.
conference. Riverdale's in our conference. Hillsboro's in our conference now.
Oh,
And I'm probably missing somebody else in there.
Zach, can you think of anybody else in football conference?
Let's see, Riverdale, Seneca, us, Hillsborough, Highland, Boscobel,
DeSoto,
DeSoto.
that might be it because we were 7. If you win the conference,
That's it.
the proposal is if you win your conference, it's a 7-game season. You win your conference, you go into a pool of 4. That's your playoffs and that's it. Because there will be no games at Camp Randall.
The one thing that'll be different for us if things work out right, our first game was supposed to be September 25th for football against Onalaska Luther. I don't see La Crosse County being good enough to allow sports. That's probably not going to happen. So we actually wouldn't have a game until October. I mean, maybe something will change with La Crosse County, but I don't see it.
Vernon County's in the same rifts too, so that's DeSoto.
So all those 6 teams that you're playing against are gonna be in October? Did I misunderstand what he said?
7.
It's going to go into November actually now too.
Got it, okay, yeah.
And then, let's say you did not make the playoffs, then that's when they were looking at possibly scheduling non-conference games at the end of it, so the kids could get 8 or 9 games in. that was some of the early talks. I don't know if it's changed, but.
So, and we talked about this last week with the superintendents. This email came out today, and we have a meeting on Monday again. So again, just more information so you guys are aware that stuff's still in flux.
I'm guessing it may be, yeah, but I imagine people are just kind of dragging their feet to see how it goes with school starting. Probably why things were pushed back in the first place, you know.
Well, I think people would like WIA to just make some kind of decision too. You know, when Dane County, when all the Madison and Middleton all canceled, when it was on the news, it was by WIA's recommendation. They did not recommend it.
Yeah.
But now that the Big Ten is out and they're losing millions of dollars, you know, you'd think that WIA would maybe, you know.
Pac-12's out.
But the southern ones are staying, or still playing.
So yeah, it's, you know, I think every week we learn more. You know, the picture gets a little clearer. Might not be the picture we like, but it gets a little clearer.
Yeah.
So
They're driving in the fog. We're getting closer to the point.
Right. Well, and I mean, I like these rules. To me, I can see our girls playing safely because we're just playing our own teams, and you know that football is a different beast, of course, and so is cross country. They're all 3 different sports. So,
And I don't think, and of course, that's not school driven or anything. I don't think the JAG over in the Dells was following anything, but the volleyball, there was a tremendous outbreak.
Yeah.
So it does happen to the young people as well.
one thing I think we want to, you know, I'm sure all school districts are going to stress it though, that as we come back together, you know, if we want to be able to do these things, we have to be very vigilant and,
Right.
you know, our social distancing, the school mask wearing, because that's where it's probably more likely to happen than at an event because we spend more time, just the pure time around. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things of, you know, if we want to do these and we want to get back to as close to normal as we can, we need to do as much as we can to help the situation along, so.
And the no fans may be a little bit difficult because parents will be driving maybe their kids or whatever, and the temptation's gonna be to try to peek.
Well, we can
So,
stick a
but
camera there
Yeah.
and we can live stream it in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll be able to do that.
Well, Lafarge had that, I remember there was a discussion on that, what Lafarge had done in their gym. It's a, what is it, public access television. They have the games live in the gym and the events live across whatever platform it is, but you could be at home watching it.
And we
Yeah,
can do
the
that.
guy in the sky
We
does
can do
it.
that with football. We can do, you know,
Yeah.
if it comes to that, you know, at least you can. Either
Let's see if my husband's drone's still working.
That's why I didn't know.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions on that? Okay, no action, just waiting for more information to be on the next agenda again.
Yep.
Okay, then 8.4, discussion possible action on track club.
So I did have somebody come to me and ask me to put this back on. There was some discussion at the trap meet, I believe, right? Or not
Yeah, we
meet,
had
but
a meeting
discussion.
on Sunday, so.
So I will let you talk about the meeting on Sunday.
Okay, so I guess some of the participating parents were upset because they were not notified of any possible change. The parents that were, and students that were asking for the change felt like they submitted the appropriate information, but the information never got out. The end result is simply this. I think my personal opinion is there's been some misunderstandings with some of the verbiage definitions and how it's all handled. So the ruling back on July 13th to shoot with Weston, in order for that to happen, for Ithaca to be recognized means Ithaca has to have a formal team registered with the USA Trap Club or USA Clay Shooting League. For that to happen, there's a few scenarios. If we as a school do not take any action at all, because our district is split between Valley and Hill Point, it simply says whichever one's closest to you, they recommend you go shoot at that one. Kids can go shoot at either one. The kids that go and shoot at Weston there is no cooperative agreement. I think that's where some of the misunderstanding was coming into play. Cooperative agreement, as far as USA Play Target League is concerned, is nothing more than your AD and the school that you shoot with AD sign off saying that it's okay for this student to come and shoot there. We have room, we will take them. That's it. Kids going to Weston, that's not required because we already have WIAA sports that we co-op with them with, like track and wrestling. So kids going to Weston, the head coach over there, Jerry Larrabee, doesn't have to do anything with that. Kids going to River Valley, they would have to have a cooperative agreement signed off by River Valley's AD, our AD, and then the head coach at Valley's got to keep those on file for 1 year. If Ithaca wants to be formally recognized as a school, like the student's name and then what school they're associated with, if they want that to have Ithaca after it, you have to formally submit documents to the USA Clay Target League saying that this is going to take place. Now, that can be a cooperative agreement. It's highly unlikely that River Valley is going to entertain River Valley Ithaca Track Club. That's probably not going to happen. But Weston, Jerry seemed like he was all on board for possibly going that route. The other option, the last option, is Ithaca can form its own entity, its own track club. Both Hill Point Rod and Gun Club and River Valley's Rod and Gun Club both agreed that our kids could shoot with their kids right alongside the other team. The reason that becomes important is because if you have a formal team, every kid in that district has to shoot where that team is at. So in the case of just putting it out there, we said that we were going to co-op or form our own team and we're going to shoot at Hill Point. Every kid in the district has to shoot there. There's no more going where you want to. So what I've talked with all the parents that were present, and we've asked the kids that were there to reach out to any family that's participating, any family that is thinking about participating to come, and we're going to hold another meeting this Sunday again to get okay, here are your options. What do you as the Ithaca community want to do? And possibly come to another board meeting for the spring league, because right now time is an issue. I don't think that anything could happen in the short time frame right now because the season's going to start in a few weeks. So technically for the fall, kids can go to River Valley and shoot. Kids can go to Weston and shoot. And I would, I don't know where the breakdown happened, but when this thing all went down, the point of contact for the sport didn't even know anything about it, or for the club. And somebody notified River Valley of the change as well, and it wasn't the point of contact. I don't know who that was.
I don't even know who the point of contact is.
Brian Olson.
Okay.
But with it not being a school sanctioned, it's not we don't hire the coach or anything like that.
Nope.
We don't keep track of who the point of contact is. That, it's outside. We just basically are saying we are, like the horse club, we're recognizing that Ithaca students are participating in this and that we allow them to come to the athletic banquet and be recognized and things like that. That's basically kind of.
Yeah, if anything, I think it could be just a teaching moment here that like this possible outcome could come out that maybe, I don't know where the responsibility would lie, but maybe we going forward for these club things that at least the point of contact knows something drastic, because I don't know that it happened, but let's say after the July meeting and things were official, like we formed a team, Brian could have been giving out bad information to all these parents, creating,
I know Jason's my husband, so forgive me, but I think it is a problem that we had a change that we voted on here. I mean, we say that, you know, we don't have ties to the club, but we voted on some. I wasn't here, I was at a funeral, so again, there's a lot of disconnect for me with this particular topic. But to say that we don't have, I mean, we all know that Kathleen and Jenny Lauer are tied to the horse club. Kathleen's not here and somebody comes and says, well, we're gonna co-op with Richland Center for Horse Club and we vote on it, and nobody talked to Kathleen or Jenny Lauer, that would be a problem. That would be a big problem. Like these clubs, I mean, we may not sanction them, we may not control their money, we need to know who the point of contact is, so if we're voting on something, we're going down the right avenue. That's maybe my opinion, but I think it would be highly inappropriate for us to say that we don't have any say in the matter. I mean, that seems.
We didn't say we don't have any say, but where do you draw the line on, okay, if something comes up like that, who do we?
We don't have a logbook that says trap Brian Olson. I mean, our AD should at least have that. Somebody contacted River Valley that had no prior participation with that club, a letter on behalf of the Ithaca parents and students, and cut ties with somebody who took us in 2 years ago and was very good to our kids.
But that's also why we post things in
That's-
agendas and, you know.
That's fine that we post them, but I mean, that we're being very arrogant if we can't acknowledge that that was a breakdown in communication. I mean, am I the only one that feels that way?
Since you brought up me, I know nothing about it, have nothing about it. River Valley's never contacted me. The one time a parent asked them saying that since it's not WIA sanctioned, I have nothing to do with hirings or co-ops because I have nothing about that. Dan never mentioned anything about that to me. And that's all I know about it. And then it went from there to what the decision that was made. But in terms of like in my file cabinets that Dan gave me, there's nothing from trap shooting or no knowledge of it since I have nothing to do with hiring coaches or anything like that. So I don't have anything information wise about it. So I learned just about with a lot of you that Brian was in charge because I didn't realize that was even a thing, I guess.
yeah, Brian's emotionally attached to it for good reason for the stuff that Logan went through. So I know the question was asked because I sat at the meeting when we brought it to the board 2.5 years ago, who the point of contact would be. So I know it's on record somewhere where I don't know. And I don't think it's a board. Personally, I don't think it's a board thing because the board is going to vote on the information presented to them. I think it falls back on probably you, Zach, or maybe even Julie, that like, hey, there's discussion about this. Let's get the point, make sure the point of contact knows. Realistically, the point of contact should have been the one coming to Julie or you in the first place. But a lot of this, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent could have been, you know, if we, you know, the people that wanted to have the change said that they submitted letters to get out to everybody and stuff like that, and it just didn't happen. I don't know where that fell apart or any of that. We could just use it as a teaching moment to say, hey, kind of the wheels came off of this thing a little bit, like maybe with these clubs, because there is no affiliation necessarily with the school. Like you guys don't fund it, you don't do any transportation. The only thing you guys have to really vote on is if we have a team where they're going to shoot, and if you have 2 participating River Valley Weston, are you guys going to honor the letter requirements supplied? Because 80% of the schools that have these clubs honor the letter requirements for them.
So I'm just that does make school responsible, just like the horse club. So even though like our money does go through because it's a school, we raise our money, it's Fund 60. We have to have a handbook, we have to follow the code of conduct, so that is part of the school. But I do understand, like, where's the write-up about who's the person that keeps track? Like if Jim Favreau is our FFA advisor, that's a club. If he were to go, we're still responsible for that. Like you said, somebody's not gonna come in and say, well, we're gonna get rid of this in FFA without telling Jim.
Right.
We can't do that.
And to be fair, like the people that were wanting to shoot at Weston, and Weston's got a great facility and stuff like that, but they're equally as mad as the parents that felt like they weren't informed because they thought they were going through everything and gave the right information, and it just nothing happened with it. So they're as equally as frustrated, but I guess I have all kinds of information for anybody on it. If anybody wants to talk about it further, ask me some questions, go right ahead. But right now for your fall season, I can guarantee you the USA Trap League does not have anything from Weston or Ithaca because I contacted them yesterday. Nothing's on.
And I was approached by Danny Farian's email. He asked if he could bring the paperwork over for me to sign. I didn't realize I had to sign paperwork. And then it came up that we should put it back on the agenda to talk about again this month. And so that's where that was.
I'm not sure what Danny would have you sign, but for according to the rules, the letter has to be to the USA Clay League, has to come on school letterhead from the school.
It might be something that I'm signing with Weston. I don't know. I haven't seen. I don't remember signing the first line either. So
I would bet it was
now.
probably a cooperative agreement form, which does not apply, which is this form right here. And it's just probably got Danny's name on it, asking for our AD to sign off with Weston's AD, but that's null and void because we already co-op in WIAA sports with wrestling and track, so they're not required to have that.
And to be fair, the board can, as a group, we can only make decisions with the information that's provided.
Yeah, I mean, I totally respect that. Like, you guys were presented some information and stuff like that, and that's what you made base your decision on. I mean, I totally get it. It's just.
My whole point is, if we are not at least informing, and I know that we post it, and we know, tonight, I showed up at 7:30 because that's what was posted on the internet. It said 7:30. I can bring it up on my phone. The meeting clearly started at 7 o'clock. I worked until 7 and I got in my car and I came down here. Not everybody checks in the way they should, even me. I am a board member. If we are not getting a hold of at least the point of contact, or what service are we doing for our people who are just trying to do the right thing?
I'd go a step further. I don't even think it's a board thing. The board has nothing to do with it. Really, it comes down to the AD and probably the administration. They should just reach out to the point of contact because they're probably the ones that would have that on file anyway, would be my guess.
And even those folks don't know that they have bad information at this point. Again, the folks who were trying to shoot at Weston, they're just trying to do what they think is best at that point. But we can't sit back and say, well, we did what we did.
The only risk that the only issue that a parent or a community member might have is the Ithaca is not going to be recognized if you take no action. Like, it is what it is right now. Even the ruling from July 13th, there is still nothing on file with the USA Track Club. And Jerry even said so much that he didn't even know for sure what we wanted to do in the meeting that we had Sunday. And that's when the parents that were there just kind of decided to get together and say, hey, let's just get everybody together, circle up, give them their options. What do we want to do? The spring, so there's a spring and a fall season for trap. The spring season is the big one where the kids get to go on to state up at Rome. And then depending on their average, they would qualify for nationals. And that's usually held over in Michigan. Fall, it's just really nothing. You're just competing for your conference, who's the conference title, and as an individual, like what your average or your score is. There's really no accolade or anything after the fall season. So the big one to get anything in place would be the spring. So that's why we're kind of suggested holding the meeting this Sunday. Everybody's been trying to contact everybody that we possibly think of, and right, if you're thinking about it, maybe, don't know, undecided, please attend the meeting, get the information, and then.
Maybe we could have Julie Thompson put something on the school website.
We did.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, Sunday at 1 at Hill Point.
Okay.
And anybody's welcome to come just to hear what your options are. I don't,
What
anybody
do
have
you
any
want
other
us to-
questions
What
with
do you
it?
want us to do? What are the kids, where do they want to shoot?
Some want to shoot at Weston, some want to shoot at River Valley. Why? It's just two different environments, I guess, really. You know, you've got the Weston seems like it's more of like a community, you know, everybody's involved, smaller. They still won their conference, they still compete well. River Valley, it's, you know, you got more kids, you got some of the top shooters on the state shoot at River Valley. So, you know, as a competitor, you want to compete against some of the best. Valley would probably be your motivation to go shoot there. See how you stack up against.
So do we need to form a club here?
You don't. All the school, that's the thing. There's basically 4 options. Option 1, you take no action and Ithaca does not have a quote unquote official team. What that means is kids that want to participate in Weston can go participate at Weston. Kids that want to go participate at River Valley, go and participate at River Valley, but they got to have a cooperative agreement for that individual. That's only good for 1 year. In both cases there, Ithaca has no recognition. I want to be clear about that.
But the kids still let her.
The kids still have the opportunity to letter. They're just considered a Weston athlete or a River Valley athlete.
Isn't that what it was last year?
This is what it's been for 2.5 years.
And with River Valley not putting hype in Weston or hype in Ithaca, they have multiple schools that shoot with them. Highland, Sauk Prairie, correct? River Valley.
Yeah, so Richland Center kids shoot over there, Riverdale kids, Highland kids, there's Sauk Prairie,
It's
all
not.
those kids shot there under the same thing that we were doing.
Well, it's the same thing with Weston. You got Waniwa kids coming into
Yep.
Weston as well,
Sure.
because they don't have a place to.
That's really the jeopardy if Ithaca forms its own team. That's the one thing that is apparent is you have to have 5 kids. If you do not have 5 kids, let's say for some reason somebody doesn't want to go out and there's only 4, those other 4 kids cannot shoot anywhere else. They're just done. Because the rule is black and white about it. If you have an official team, the kids in that district have to shoot with that team.
Okay, so that's 2 options. So one option is no action.
No action.
Second one, we could form our.
Second
own team.
action, the second option would be co-op with another school. Realistically, Weston, because River Valley has absolutely no need to
When you
co-op with
say
somebody.
co-op, an official team.
An official co-op, meaning we would have a letter from Ithaca on Ithaca letterhead and a letter from the other school on their letterhead. Both go to the USA Clay Trap League on file, and then you're recognized in the state and everything else. That's option 2. Option 3 is form an Ithaca only trap team, which is high risk. If you don't have 5 kids, it's done. That's the situation that Waniwak is in. Those kids were out of shooting for a year because
So you might get 5 or 6 that sign up, but if only 4 show up.
if you only score 4, that's it.
Okay,
You have to turn in 5 scores.
Gotcha.
and your 4th option.
Well, that third option is 2 parts.
Okay,
Both Spring Green Rod and Gun Club and Weston Rod and Gun Club agreed to have the Ithaca team shoot beside them on the same day. At least River Valley said the same day. Jerry said we're more than welcome to do it as well. I would assume it would be the same day, but I can't confirm that right now because I never broached the question with him.
But then with doing that, they'd still have to have the 5.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We wouldn't do any of the options without the trap club coming to a consensus of what they want, because
Exactly.
it wouldn't be, so if we do no action now, they're basically gonna be doing the exact same thing they would have, but they're shooting at the school of their choice.
Right. So I would imagine like Danny Ferrience, it's his uncle that is the head coach. I would imagine that he's going to want to go and shoot over there. Katie Fry is going to probably go shoot over there because she was a Weston athlete that shot over there, and then they transferred to the district. That's probably kind of where this kind of all got started a little bit, would be my guess, because she wanted to keep shooting with Weston, and well, hey, Ithaca doesn't have a team, so that's probably where some of the waters got muddied up because of the weren't
So for the spring, when they do their, you know, where they can advance on, can you do this exact same thing you're doing in the fall, both shoot on separate teams?
You can do it from now to the end of time. The only, like, I want to be crystal clear because it was brought up at the board meeting when Troy Day came down when we originally signed up. Ithaca will not be recognized on any jersey, on any plaque, but like you guys had the banners up in the school for the Ithaca seniors last year. I mean, they put the Ithaca Bulldog up there for them and everything on their banner and everything else like that. They were recognized, but to Kelly's point, our name was never on the trophy because we're not the official team. And I think that's where a lot of the misunderstanding has come from, is some of the, you know, when you say cooperative agreement, right away you assume we're co-oping with that school, but that's not the case with this.
I think there's another point that has to be fleshed out. What came up last year was that even though they were getting a varsity letter here, they didn't think that they had to follow our athletic code rules and our academic rules.
That is not,
Who did it?
that's not true. I know they're pretty strict about that, and that's all the more reason for the point of contact, probably.
I know it's true for a fact.
Yeah.
Because we had a student that was ineligible and still shot.
Right, and it was my understanding, because I looked into that, that we didn't supply the grades in a timely manner when they were requested. And I would, personally, I was a school, I would put that responsibility on your point of contact, saying, hey, just so you know, if you're gonna be the point of contact for this club, and you've got kids going to Valley and you got kids going to Weston, you're responsible for, you're the liaison for the school and the club, for Pete's sakes. You gotta be getting the letters, the cooperative agreement letters signed and taken care of. You gotta be telling the school, here's Weston's requirements to letter, here's River Valley's requirements to letter, and come grade time, hey, I need the grades for these students because they're participating in Valley, and the grades for these students because they're participating in Weston, give them to their appropriate coaches. Personally, that's how I think it should.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask for the fourth option again.
There's three options, but option 3 has 2 parts.
Okay, sorry, I'll cross my 4 off.
3
I
options,
got the 2 parts.
2 parts to option 3
Yep.
is, do you shoot at Hill Point or do you shoot at River Valley as an Ithaca team?
3A and 3B.
There you go. Sorry, I'm good.
And what I just outlined here is what is going to be talked to Sunday at 1 o'clock at Hill Point. And let the people that are participating, the community, get their voice and their outcome, and that will be what's in effect for spring. Kind of a big deal, because if you decide to formally form a team, you kind of tie the district into doing that, or making sure you have 5 kids to score.
So you'll come back and report back to us, or whoever your point of contact is.
Yes, I will.
If you want to be on the next.
I'll personally come back, and because I think I'm holding the meeting myself or speaking at it, so. Since I've done all this legwork on it. And
So who's the current one?
Brian is still the current point of contact, and somebody had asked me if I would step up, and I said, I would be more than willing to do it, but I'm not gonna step on Brian's toes at all because of, you know, of why he started it in the first place. I just don't think that would be right. He can, if he resigns, and I'd be more than happy to take it over. But until then, Brian's your point of contact. I can go on record and be your backup point of contact.
Any other discussion, questions, comments?
I did bring the rules. Any parents that are concerned about it, I can speak for both clubs on this. River Valley's only, obviously it's outside. They're only allowing one spectator, gotta be wearing a mask. They're
One spectator per child.
one
per
spectator
student.
per child,
I
that's
was
it.
gonna say, boy, you have to get there awful early to be that one.
They're also assigning Valley's, Valley's pretty big. Jerry can run them through at one time, all the kids down there, but Valley's got 50, 60 kids shooting. They're assigning times for their kids to come shoot. So your group will have a set time that you have to come and shoot. So you don't have all these kids ignoring the social distancing, the mask wearing and everything. And both clubs, well, River Valley's, I know for sure they're going to shut down their concession stand. The only thing that's going to be open there are the restrooms. I honestly don't know, Jerry, what he plans on doing, because I didn't even think to ask him at the time. It just kind of came up in another conversation. Like Valley sends it out on a team app, so you get their handbook electronically and everything just comes, every athlete gets it. So, and that's what they were doing.
All right then. Move on to new business 9 then. 9.1, discussion possible action on bills and balances. So we had total receipts of $343,311.36. Total disbursements of $458,161.95. Been moved by Ms. Blazinski to accept the bills and balances as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Peterson, roll call, please.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
9.2 then, discussion possible action on accepting alternate open enrollment.
Okay, so we have. We have one student going out, a junior. And this is a Ithaca resident going out. I can't figure out where the date is because it's a weird form. Going to Reedsburg.
So we have 2 going out.
Two going out.
In grades 11 and what?
11, and let's see what this kid's grade is.
I guess it doesn't matter.
I think they lived there and moved here.
Is he open out?
They're open out. So I don't recognize the name even, so I don't think they lived here long. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2 alternate open enrollment out of the district.
Been moved by Mrs. Blazinski to accept the alternate open enrollment out. Second.
Second.
Mr. Brisboy's, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 9.3 then, discussion possible action on purchasing computers for elementary.
So we have 2 sets of numbers for you. I made copies of them. They're in front of Mr. Rowe. If you didn't get a paper copy.
She's got enough. I
Yeah.
gave her the sinks and he gave her the computer. So.
Okay. She's got her sinks and computers. She's good to
She's
go.
ready.
The big one, $25,125 is for 75 acers for the lower elementary. They're touch screens, very durable.
We had discussed and approved previously to purchase 75, but the ones we had discussed were 250 apiece, are no longer available. These Acers are available. That's a guy Adam works with all the time. He has them in his possession, but they were like $80 more, but they come with everything. They come with a hard case, they come with licensing, they come with like insurance and all. They come with everything that you would need. So basically we're looking at, we could have bought 60 with what we'd approved before, 18,006 something, if I remember right. So basically we're looking for the difference to be approved at this meeting.
So So we're looking for about another 7,000.
And do you want to approve the Chromebooks on the same motion, or do you want to do that as a separate one?
The other Chromebooks as replacements would be on a separate.
Okay.
So this would all be coming out of COVID money.
Well, no, upper 90. The first one is upper 90.
Okay, yeah, yep, that's right.
And we, in finance, we do have money
22,000
Yeah.
left, right?
is the
So it's
minimum.
almost 23. Yeah.
And then we could use COVID money for the remainder.
Yep.
I would make that motion that we purchase the 15 additional Acers.
That brings it to a total of 75.
That brings it to total 75.
The 60 we've already got covered. So we're adding about $7,000.
I'll second it. Is that what we're ready for?
Yep.
Yes, I'll second it.
And then these allow the younger grades to have them at home in case we go virtual.
Yes. So it's been moved by Mrs. Peterson, right?
Yep.
And seconded by Mrs. Rowe. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
And then the second part of that is the
Replacement Chromebooks.
6,000, whatever.
6,625.
How many is that?
25.
25 Chromebooks is basically just standard replacement of our Chromebook fleet for the rest of the school. There's, I think we figured that you take about 15% a year that just various things happen. So this is just standard replacement of, here's the ones that died. Been moved by Mr. Manning to purchase was it 25 Chromebooks at a cost of?
$6,625 and I'll second.
And Ms. Blazinski seconds it. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
And I'll officially yes that because I think I was yesing something else.
I think you said thank you. I took it.
Okay, then 9.4, then discussion possible action on purchasing sinks.
All right.
We talked about this in buildings and grounds
And finance.
and finance.
Finance. I gotta find the right pile.
Sinks
Sorry.
in where the water bubblers or fountains.
Right.
You want to vernacular, you would use from
Yes.
whatever part of the Midwest.
I gave one to Ken.
Oh, did you
That
get
was
it?
the other one.
The bottle fillers will still be available to use. This will increase our hand washing capacity around the school.
Okay,
What
so
did how many did we say?
Yeah, how many? do we-
3?
I think you said 3.
I thought that's
I
what
know
we
there's
said.
at least 3, yeah. I know there was a discussion of where some of them were.
3 or 4.
I was just explaining to Summer that the earlier ones that they decided not to do were the portable ones. Yeah, so
And
they had to fill them with water and then empty the dirty water, and this way they just hook up right where the water fountains are that don't have the bottle filler, because we're not gonna use those anyway, so you take them out, put them away for storage, put the portable sink in, then when we're through this, and put the water fountains back on.
And if push comes to shove and we do need more sinks, we can always buy these other ones. They're a shorter turnaround.
they're actually more expensive though, too. The portable ones.
Yep.
These would not have heaters on them
Right.
because it's another $235. But
Right.
the hand washing and the soap
Yeah.
is the biggest thing for that. So the cost is $670 plus, we don't have an exact shipping cost.
I just write 675 plus shipping.
Yes.
Yeah.
If somebody wants, I just wanted people to know
install,
when they make their
probably.
motion, that there will be the 670 plus shipping.
Okay,
And installation.
and then installation, this isn't
They
something.
don't, we talked about it. It says very easy to install. So we're hoping we don't have to get a plumber, but that could all go.
Yeah,
We're gonna wing it. We're gonna
Yeah.
see what happens.
I'll move to approve the expenditure for the additional sinks.
Moved by Mr. Brisboy, second by Mr. Manning. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ferriant, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Manning,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski,
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Okay, then 9.5, discussion and possible action on approval of early graduation. Do you want us to do that now, or do you want to wait for the rest of the meetings?
I was gonna
Got
say,
through
you
this
should have
much of
moved
it.
it up.
Yeah, I didn't.
I can wait all the way up to you guys.
Nope, go ahead, go.
Anything, whatever. All right. My name, do I have to stand? Like,
No.
what I think you're good.
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm still heartbroken.
She wrote a very nice letter, so do you want me to give you a letter back?
Sure.
You can read it. This is, that always.
All right.
It's a letter.
My name is Daniel Hackl. I would like for you guys to consider my request for an early graduation. I am going to be a senior this 2020-2021 school year, and I will be turning 18 in November. At the end of my first semester, I will have completed all my graduation requirements and more. Currently, I am working on farm in Bear Valley, feeding calves and driving tractor. And I really do love working on farm, so yeah. I plan to save as much as I can to save up for college and whatever other expenses I need it for. And if I were accepted, I plan to find a more full-time job so then I can cover more costs, get my money saved up. And I have an interest in becoming a social worker after high school. So things may change from there to here or here to there, but thank you for your time and consideration.
Ms. Bevan's fine with it?
Miss Bevan wrote a very nice letter, and I gotta tell you, she's very impressed with Danielle because there was other considerations a couple years ago. So the fact that she's gonna graduate early, kudos to her.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate Danielle on the choices she made in the last year or so to make this possible. She's worked very hard, and I think it'd be great.
I second that. We've spent lots of time with Danielle this summer too, and she's been a great addition around our family, and don't be prouder of her, for sure.
Put up with you.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Hard knocks.
I can't figure out why you don't come to all the meetings.
Okay.
Recommendation by administration is.
That we approve her early graduation.
So I move, Mr. Manning moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Peterson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone against?
You can go now, unless you're really,
Yeah.
unless you're really into-
Unless you've just really got into public service.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Congratulations.
It's a good message, you know, they go on to work hard like that, you allow them to graduate early.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Danielle.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I forgot this door. Oh, sorry. I thought
Yeah,
you were-
no, you're good, you're good.
Sorry, I thought you were headed for that.
She's doing the 6 feet plus.
Yeah, there you go.
9.6, then discussion possible action on accepting the student handbook addendum.
So we're working on, there's new guidelines for kids, so it needs to go into the student parent handbook. And so these were what we've been working on the last couple of weeks. We're gonna bring it to you for approval or whatnot. All of you except maybe Summer can read that.
Thank you.
Just the fact that anyone entering the building must have a mask and temps will be taken upon entry. Exceptions are temperatures taken at the car for students who are dropped off in the morning.
Do you think do you need to have in there that temperatures will be taken before getting on the bus?
Yeah, what happens then?
That's down for, no.
Nobody's home.
That's the thing that they have to be communicated, that the parents need to be aware of that. If
Yeah, that they
the
need to
student-
know.
The other
that-
part of that is you can have it and never run a temperature.
Right.
True.
Right.
And that's one
But
of
it
those
is
things
the
you
most
can't
common.
do anything about that.
It is the most common symptom, but I will add that, Linda. We'll have one-way traffic around the building and social distancing. People in the building will wear masks, shields correctly, remain socially distanced from all as much as possible. Use hand sanitizer to wash hands. Masks, face shields, each student should carry a Ziploc bag to hold the mask or some kind of something.
The elementary are thinking of lanyards or something to, hold on to the mask when they're not, like if they're outside. Each person is responsible for proper washing. They must be worn properly. They must be worn at all times and responsible. There's been a lot of talk around face shields. Face shields are allowed, but the masks is required. So if people want to wear a shield and a mask, fine, but you can't just have the shield. You have to have the mask. Personal hygiene, just the fact that we need to wash our hands more and care is taken, social distance. We had talked to Rose about staff with students in social distancing. And kind of like, Jay, you mentioned the 15 minutes. So if I were to be Ron's teacher and we're all socially distanced and I step and talk to him for a minute and step away, that she said that was, and she said the masking is very important as well. We're going to cohort, students will be grouped together and remain in these groups as much as possible during the day. Chromebooks will be issued, students will be issued, be responsible for and use school-owned devices, charging cord, and bag. Chromebooks must be brought to school daily, as they will be used daily and hourly for instruction and interaction. I talked to Adam. We had him sign an agreement when they took them home or kept them over the summer and used them then. Adam will update that agreement and they'll sign that as well. And then down here, is there anything else that you feel needs to be just in the general handbook about COVID?
I did add in the bus, and it came up in finance about the broken computers and how we didn't make them pay for it, even though it's in the technology agreement.
Okay.
So the suggestion was that either we need to start doing that, especially since we're going to be giving out many more now, and we need to follow through with that.
Okay.
So
the expectation is we will follow that policy.
Right. Okay. So did you add that in there? Do we need to add that then?
we can link
Well,
the
you
technology
It's in the
policy.
We'll
policy
sign it.
already.
It
I know,
says
the
students and
user-
parents will sign a user agreement, and I would think that's where it would be in.
Yeah, you know what? How often people don't read that? They just sign it. So I would like it added right there, Julie, if you would. That
Okay,
the financial responsibility of a broken Chromebook will be held.
oops,
I don't know how
I'm not
to
typing in the right spot.
However, it says in the user agreement, you're probably talking kids.
something.
Okay.
And down here are discipline guidelines. So like when somebody does something, is there a consequence? So just so it's kind of spelled out.
Yeah, we've been asked a lot of questions or been told from some that, well, my son or daughter's not going to wear a mask. What are you going to do? And well, they won't come to school then.
So Chris and I follow, this is long adopted from when I was dean. We brought in discipline guidelines, and it is something that we follow, that it's kind of a guide. You know, what happens when, if this, then that kind of thing. So we're adding it to that. And we're putting it under the personal safety, the things like, well, I'll look. I'm drawing a blank right now, sorry. Protection of the public safety, that's the area we're putting it in, because it is, you know, kid spits on somebody else, and today's, it's public safety. So I think we only added 3. 1, somebody refuses to wear a mask, student will be sent home for a day. This will not be considered a suspension as long as the student participates virtually at home. If the student does not participate in school virtually that day, or, you know, will be considered a suspension. If the student repeatedly refuses, it could result. So this needs to change, correct, Chris? To truant. That would be absent. Julie, so change that to absence.
Okay.
Please. All right, the next one is.
I would go back to that one though.
Yeah.
The last line, if a student refuses to wear a mask, that I would change that to will result in suspension. Because
Yeah, that word could is too iffy.
Okay, so
It will result.
Right.
yes.
And
Shall,
there's no.
Julie, change it to shall.
shall is a legal term.
Okay. Next is
And that
repeatedly
should be addressed in the,
removes mask during the day. Student will be reported to and have a conference with the principal. The consequence will result in being sent home for an at-home virtual day. This will not be considered a suspension as long as the student participates virtually. If the student does not participate virtually, he or she will be considered
Absent.
Yep.
Absent, yeah.
so you had a good point, is if you have a medical excuse from a doctor for mask wearing.
I'm just saying, we've had an outbreak in asthma since we implemented the mask.
But even
Everybody's going to
like,
their doctor getting,
Oh.
they got asthma, so then the doctor gives them an
Doctor
excuse
doesn't
not to
want
wear their
responsibility.
mask.
Well,
Anytime
so what
it's,
has to happen with that is we need to make accommodations. That's what the virtual is. If someone has a asthma and cannot wear a mask, then
Just
they'll
food for
need to
thought.
do
I
the
mean,
virtual
it's
option.
good.
but even
Yeah.
like Dane County, I believe they have a caveat, if you have a medical.
Yep.
Medical excuse or.
I think it's in the governor's article that came out,
Correct, I
so
believe it is
we've
too.
got,
Yeah,
I think I've been telling parents that just give me a doctor's
Recently,
excuse.
even though they're-
And
Oh,
then the kid isn't, that we'll ask them to wear a shield
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
something, but that doesn't hinder their breathing. If you guys want me to change that, or are you okay with them wearing a shield at school with no mask?
No. It's gotta be for a medical, a
For
validated
a
medical purpose.
But if they have a validated medical
by a
purpose,
physician, a
Then we
medical
will-
professional.
Then, socially distance in the room will look different for that child.
yes.
Because according to what we've been told from both Sauk and Richland County, mask, social distance and hygiene. So you take one away, the risk of the other kids then increases. So we have to keep that, it has to all play in.
But why would you not have them wear a shield?
You would, Linda,
Would-
but a
they would
shield
have
is
to be-
not replacing
Right,
a mask.
it's not as
So
good as
instead
a
of
mask,
6
but
feet,
it
you may
does
go
give
to
some.
10 feet.
Right.
are you doing something for your drivers? Because I know it came up at Riverdale for their drivers, because guys that wear glasses, when a mask, it fogs up, they can't see.
So the bus drivers were just given one of the shields that have the cowl on it.
Okay.
So, and they're all each individually choosing whether or not to have a something around their driving area.
Like a clear vinyl something.
Mhm.
Yeah, like shower curtain pops into mind, but
I know
we're
it
gonna
came up at Riverdale, so.
magnetized to the ceiling. They're figuring that all out, and it's legal for the drivers to be able to do that now. So as long as you can see through it.
And you can't get plexiglass.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can.
It's a safety thing for them,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly, exactly.
Expensive to get.
No, it's not. Go to Menards. They've
Really?
got stacks of I was there
Okay,
yesterday
so
and
they
bought
must have got it.
25 sheets. They've had for the whole time. It's just you gotta go back in there. People think it's not there, but it is. It's
Okay.
I just
You
looked.
gotta go in often. So you,
Sure, say that in a
It's
public
go online
meeting. It'll
tonight.
all
You
gone
could
through.
buy 100 pieces of plexiglass.
really,
Oh,
okay, good to know. Misuse of masks and face covering.
Okay, you got that could in there again.
Yeah.
If student repeatedly removes,
Shall
it
result.
shall.
I keep capitalizing everything.
Okay, and misuse of mask, face covering. Principal conference with all involved parties, the consequence will be determined based on each occurrence. So that could be,
Make that say will instead of
Fiddling with.
to. It's not really a complete sentence.
I'm sorry,
The consequence to be,
determined, the consequence is to be determined.
Yeah.
So that's this kind of stuff, if it-
Twisting of the earpieces.
Right.
You twist your earpieces and it creates that pocket here. have a seal.
There'll be a lot of different ones.
You wouldn't believe the stuff I've seen already at work.
So what else should we add, Jim? Just give us your knowledge.
Can you be our COVID inspector?
Yes. Some districts have, the big districts have their COVID person, like that's all they do.
I remember you mentioned something about ball caps. I don't remember what it was pertaining to, but I've seen a lot of guys at work because, you know, I got a big fat head and these things bother my ears in time. So what they're doing is sewing buttons on their hats.
Yeah,
It
okay.
still forms the seal, so we've been fine with that, but
Yeah, we did a survey of the teachers and it was 100% no.
No baseball hats.
We're not ready for that.
yeah,
change.
their surveys.
Baseball caps with a mask and a shield.
You can buy shields that literally go on the bill of your cat. And some of the parents are very excited because the kids don't mind them that much. And that's okay, but we don't allow baseball hats and you need a mask.
The other one's a survey came out on neck gaiters. It's basically like aspirating the droplets.
Actually worse than not
It's
wearing a
worse?
mask.
It's
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
It makes
Brooke study
the
just the other
droplets
day.
smaller and they're more airborne and they spread farther.
Yeah,
So
nice, huh?
Yeah, that just came out 2 days ago, the
Yep.
Duke study.
we've seen that. There was an uptick in everybody wearing gaiters and then all of a sudden that came out and we're like, now what do we do?
Glue it on.
So basically, to talk about the baseball caps, right now, baseball caps are not allowed, and our teachers would like that to stay that way, whether they have a shield attached or not.
Any other questions, comments on the student handbook addendum?
The other thing, some people asked about, what are we going to do about, you know, if they have certain things on the masks and stuff like that? Well, that's already addressed in our student handbook.
Yeah, it's addressed in the dress code.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not allowed on the t-shirt, it's not gonna be allowed on the mask.
Exactly.
You did put
Great.
appropriate mask on there somewhere, right? Someone was
Yeah,
talking
that's
about a lace mask.
Yeah,
absolutely.
approved mask is what I put,
Got it.
or face covering, which
Okay.
our whole document does say face covering because that was pre the order, so I could go through and change it to mask.
So Julie, that should be added here though, because right here it does not describe what type of mask, so it needs to be a,
Appropriate, or I don't know how you word it, but so somebody doesn't come in with a lace mask.
I would just say approved, because if there's a question,
Right,
Yeah.
teacher can send it to one of you guys, and then you guys can say, no, that's not.
and then you can hand them the paper one.
actually, I think they get those white ones.
Yeah, I actually have
Oh,
one here that's
okay.
brand new that, and just in case somebody forgot theirs, they could use this one.
Well, it needs
No,
to be
that won't work.
separate, Julie,
Yeah.
because it has to do with the design of it, not what's on it.
Like the dress code one is so that it doesn't say, you know,
Yeah.
a swear word or something.
Mesh clothing isn't allowed either,
Yeah.
unless you got something underneath it.
You can just put,
Go up to the
this has
top.
to be appropriate, approved, and according to dress code.
Go up to the top.
There you go.
Okay,
Approved
yeah.
mask, yeah.
And I wrote, temperatures will be taken, and then I put, or before entering bus.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, I just gotta get the right,
Okay.
No other discussion?
I'm sorry. Thought you
You're
were-
okay. I just
Now we
want
are.
somebody to interrupt you in the middle, like I did, with a comment.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the student handbook addendum regarding masks and temperatures. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded by Mrs. Blazinski and Mrs. Rowe to approve this student handbook addendum as approved. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then 9.7, and discussion and possible action on accepting the library goals 2020-2021 and a letter to the board explaining Mrs. Araya's plan.
so I printed off the goals. Can you click on her goal, on her letter, please, Miss Shane? So does anybody not have this? That's so weird on this side. So she wants to
She
thank
made
you
it bigger, that's why.
because it's so huge.
Sorry.
She's just basically explaining why she has done this. So the 10 pillars are the 10 colors across the top of your sheet.
Quite impressive.
And I'm sorry, this is small, but I wanted it all on the sheet.
Yeah.
But I did it in color for you guys. One of the things that we do, what she is awesome at, is that she's getting the neat and the fun technology into the younger grades levels. So she asked for approval. They were sitting here earlier today, but she probably put them away, or Adam did. So coding and things that the kids are gonna find natural, that we would find more difficult to do as adults. They pick it up and run with it, and she just feeds right into that for the kids. The library is often busy. It's going to be a little different this year with COVID, but she's been an excellent addition to our staff.
She will go to the classrooms for instruction for the elementary. She's got a plan for how the kids will still be able to check books out for safely, so. And we will follow her guidelines, which she got from Chicago Public Library, into the classroom, so that classroom libraries can still be utilized.
Any other discussion, questions on it?
Move to approve if such a motion is needed.
I would second it.
It's been moved by Mr. Griswold, and second by Mr. Peterson, to accept the library goals 2020, 2021 as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. 9.8, then discussion possible action on asphalt and paving options.
I didn't put these up either. I'm just gonna start this week over, you guys. I just have them.
Oh, we did.
We've talked about this a couple of times in buildings and grounds. Frank had gotten several options. We talked a couple years ago about redoing the parking lot by the high school, and it didn't get done because they didn't have time to do it that year. So we went and filled the cracks and did that. He got options on doing blacktop from the elementary clear down to the bus garage. And then he got options to do the new parking lot and the bus lane, fix the rest of the bus lane, widen it out where it needs to be widened out on the corners. Basically from about the greenhouse back, it's pretty narrow, it's not as wide as the other. And then I think it's about a 10-foot width where from the road to the new cement back there, the patio area, that would be blacktop where the kids are loading on the buses. So he has a different options. We discussed it a little bit in finance, but without Cheryl being here.
Here's one of the
It was, kind of like, do we have the money is the big thing. I think we've kind of talked in buildings and grounds, the need to, the wants tos, the have tos. It all needs to be done at some time because the blacktop is getting in pretty rough shape all the way around. The highest priority would be the new parking lot and the bus lane. We've seen that how this new bus drop off and pick up is working very nicely. So that would be kind of the priority.
So we did get a bid for $55,000 for the parking area. 2 inches, was it 4 inches?
It's 2
And-
inches.
2 inches of hot mix and 4 inches of compacted, was it not? 4
Okay,
inches of,
yeah.
they tore it or ground up compacted to 4 inches.
That's for the new parking lot and the bus lane, or the
Yes.
whole?
No,
Just the
so
new
the new parking lot and the
Parking
bus
lot and
lane.
the bus lane.
All the way around the
Yeah, and
building.
that'd be 4 inches. And the idea there is that's, you know, for heavier traffic, it holds up better. Some of the talk we had in buildings and grounds was, you know, other than cars, you know, cars running on the thinner blacktop is probably not as big an issue. How heavy are the buses? You know, they're not nearly as heavy as like a semi or anything like that. Kind of all boils down to how much do you want to spend, you know, and how long is it going to last? The base underneath is very good. It's very solid, especially back around here. And when they put the new parking lot in, the people that took the bids and Randy Olson said that it would not be a problem paving over that parking lot right away, the way it was compacted. You know, because we scraped dirt off and then they put the new in and they compacted it versus if we'd have hauled a bunch of fill in and then compacted. What's underneath is already compacted, and what we put on for, you know, the base was compacted. So boils down to 2 things. Do we have the money at all? And then, you know, do we want to, because the bid for just the straight 2 inches and not the 2 lifts is like 27,000 or 29,000. It's about half the cost, which makes sense because it's half the cost.
This one was 11.5 from Farner, but I can't remember, I don't see where it was done. You guys remember? Repair asphalt using infrared seamless patching system. This is patching. It was just another patch, another bit.
Do we have the money?
It's hard without Cheryl here
Cheryl.
to know.
Yeah.
You know, because the options would be, you know, because it looked like we had 22,000 in up to 90 yet, but we're using that for the computers. Would be, we put some money a few years ago into the
Fund 46.
Fund 46 for, you know, for building improvement, but I think it was maybe 5 or 10,000.
Yeah, it wasn't that much.
Wasn't that much.
We got 2 new buses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was last year's, you know, that was we wouldn't have been able to do this and that money anyways, because we wouldn't have been able to have it done by the end of the school year.
And I'm sure there's going to be expenses along with the COVID that the grants that we've gotten won't cover unless all of a sudden they give us some more money. And that's probably gonna be more staff related.
Right.
As far as people we may need on board.
Do we feel like the 2 inches is not gonna last that long, or why would we even consider the 4 then? If regular car traffic and the
No.
bus traffic isn't even heavy enough.
It's not 4 inch, it's 2 inches of asphalt no matter what. It's a matter of what they compact underneath, is my understanding. But they were
I think
pulverizing.
it
The
says
4 inches is
2
the
lifts.
55, the 2 inches is the 27, I thought, or no?
Oh, it would be 4 inches of
It would be 4
compact.
inches of blacktop. It's 2 lifts. They put them in 2 inches at a time. So it is twice as much asphalt.
What are we gaining as far as like a timeline? I don't know anything about this. Is it really worth that much extra money? Do we need to do it?
It probably is,
Yeah.
yes. It's kind of like putting shingles on your house, you know, do you pay to do the extra?
If you think about the wheelbase on your bus, every time that thing turns, it's gonna scrub your asphalt. If you go too thin, it's just gonna be rutted up.
And the same with that snowplow going back
Yeah.
through there.
You should
And
go,
like he explained,
Okay.
the crack, you can't go over the crack and then decide, oh, we should have done
Another layer.
another layer because it's
Okay.
just gonna crack in that same place.
I don't know anything about it. So why was he even quoted at 2 then? If it's
because you
not
can go
even-
like
if
2
it's-
on your straights, 4 on your corners, but at that point,
Why not just?
why not just do the 4 all the way through?
Yep. And we brought both to the board just because trying to be fiscally responsible, you know, is it worth the risk of, you know, doing it and having it and get as much time out of it as you can. And then down the road, you say, okay, you know, we got to redo it.
It feels like a really crappy year.
It costs you-
$40,000, you know, or, you
Yeah.
know, $60,000
Mhm.
instead of,
27
or
extra.
$70,000 instead of.
We've got 4 inches at work and we run 10 million pounds of steel across it a week and it's not rolling up, so.
So it's a little bit of a sticker shock, but we just We
Yeah,
have to keep talking about the things that need to be done.
Well, and the other thing that's gonna be brought, the way I understand it, is if we would happen to have to go all virtual, we do not have,
The traffic.
no, we don't have the acers for the 4K, correct?
Mhm.
So we'd be looking at purchasing
There's 31.
31 of those as well.
so you're probably talking,
Well, at
10,000.
Yeah,
you know, because it's, we had 8, we could get 60 of the Acers with the 18,600 we'd approved before, so you're basically talking.
cutting that in half.
Is this a decision we can even make without Cheryl?
I don't
here?
think so.
This
No,
is
wait
when you
way
brought it in.
next meeting.
That's
Wait,
just
we
a
say
thing.
yes, and she's like, what?
Exactly right. We wouldn't be able, and when we brought it, but I think it's one that we need to do it sometime. The only disadvantage in not doing it now is the gravel and the new parking lot and the water things there are gonna be a little interesting to go around in the winter. I guess we never intended to do it the first year anyways, you know, so it's just the type of thing we should probably have in our mind to
Can
do
we
it.
just
as-
do the bus lane and then block the gravel off when it gets snowy? I mean, our parking lot has been sufficient. I mean, if we could block the gravel off for the winter so it doesn't have to be plowed, and then just do the bus lane at 4 inches right now, would that be a possibility?
Yeah, yeah,
We likely won't have the extra.
yes, yeah. So
Right.
it's just more so that we need to, it definitely needs to be addressed.
And from a timing standpoint, though, we're gonna have to, if we want it done this year yet, and with school starting, do they work on weekends or
So
however?
we don't have a quote on just the bus lane at 4 inches? Okay.
But I think, you know, without Cheryl being here, and that's what we're hoping to be able to talk to Cheryl in finance and get a better idea. That
Okay.
we probably just more informational right now and keep in the back of our minds that it's a expense that we're gonna incur at some point.
Okay.
We'll bring it up, hopefully maybe at the next finance meeting, or maybe I can talk to her beforehand so she's prepared, you know, and can.
Are we having another meeting before school starts?
I guess we'll talk about that when we get to the.
Sorry.
set meeting.
Sorry,
No, that's
jumping
okay.
the gun.
But,
Okay.
yeah,
That's right.
okay, so no action on that?
No action.
Here you go, then 9.9, discuss some possible action on setting committee dates. 9.9.1, finance and personnel, September 14th. That would be for the next regular, right?
Yep. I'm gonna pull my calendar up to double check the date.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Write that down, because I got something right today. Holy macaroni, it's just been a really weird week.
All right, I'll
Yes.
make a motion to set finance and personnel Monday, September 14th at 6:30.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Peterson, did you get the first?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of setting finance and personnel before the next regular board meeting on September 14th at 6:30, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, 9.9.2 then, policy Wednesday, August 19th.
Yep.
Is that one already set? That one's set, so that's just
Are
information.
you sure? Because we had our last meeting in July after this board.
It's in my calendar, but I always put them in early anyway. I'll make a motion just in case. I'll
Okay.
have a policy meeting at 5 o'clock on August 19th.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mrs. Blazinski, second by Mrs. Rowe to set policy on Wednesday, August 19th at 5 o'clock. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, 9.9.3, buildings and grounds, Wednesday, September 2nd, 6:30.
We already set that.
I've already said that, yeah, that's in the.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Brisboy, seconded by Mr. Manning to set buildings and grounds on September 2nd at 6:30. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, then, curriculum, 9.9.4 is curriculum, Thursday, September 3rd at 5:30?
Yep.
Okay, is that set or we need to set?
It was set.
That one's set? Okay,
I'll move to approve.
okay. Then Mr. Brisboy, second by Mrs. Variance, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. 9:10 then, discussion setting next board meeting will be Monday, September 14th at
Should that be 7?
7.
7. That's what we got, 7.
Is there
I'll make that motion.
Okay, been moved by Mrs. Peterson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Blazinski, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Do we need to set another one before that?
That's up to you guys.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have concrete answers on some of the stuff, right? You guys are still meeting and there's the WIA thing and we could put the track club on that one because you guys are meeting this Sunday, right?
This Sunday, yeah.
So the 24th or the 31st, but school starts on the 1st, so
Yeah, the 31st is.
The 24th?
24th.
Let's just change things up on the 31st. Come on, let's have some fun.
The rest of us will be here on the 24th, Ron will be here on the 31st. So 24th,
24th.
is there a motion to set board meeting?
I also moved on the 20th.
That'll be good. We have a Zoom meeting with the guy, the head guy from CISA, what Kickapoo learned starting early that day.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so who made the motion?
I did.
Okay.
Kelly, Perry.
Seconded to set the next board meeting August 24th at 7. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, all right then, the 10 then adjourned closed session under Wisconsin statute 19.851C for consideration, employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which government body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. In closed session will be discussion regarding the performance evaluation of a district employee, teacher, staff, administration, coach. We'll be in closed session not less than 5 minutes, but it could probably will be longer.
Which direction are we going?
We'll have to go that way.
Is that
Also,
block off?
move to go to closed session.
Second.
By Ms. Blazinski, second by Mr. Manning, roll call.
Me? I'm not going.
Mr. Manning.
Stay here.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski. Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance. Mr. Lewis.
Yes, you can stay here, Jay, we gotta go.
Copy that.
We're gonna be in bed by the
Just have
time.
it.
Let's put our-
Unless you guys really that
So
fast.
the rest of the meeting is not gonna take very long.
Come on down to the meeting on Sunday.
Well, we might do that.
Where are we going?
This is just basically the rule. That's all, but
Art.
this is the agenda for the COVID stuff. The cooperative agreement if he was to shoot in Valley, so. Yeah. That's it.
I didn't have-
1 o'clock.
I didn't have a chance to. I didn't have-
Cause he's all about that kind of stuff.
We're out of room and she's got. All right, we're back. Let's see who's left here.
I cannot say the same thing. You just retreat to the.
All right, we have Brooke, Mike, and Zach are still with us. The diehards to the end. For the Tango, that's not the right one. Thank you, Miss Jane.
What can we do during COVID? Yeah. All right.
Okay, then, Robin reconvened open session.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brisboy, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Peterson, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, back in open session. 11:1 then, discussion possible action hiring 5th grade teacher, right?
Mrs. Olivia Price at 38,540.
Is there recommendation by administration? Is there a motion?
I'll-
By Mrs.
I'll
France,
second.
is there a second by Mrs. Lozinski?
Wait, I didn't get the first,
Mrs. France.
and then Blazinski.
Yes.
A roll call, please.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
11:2 then, discussion possible action on resignation of bus driver.
Kathleen Baroker, with many thanks. She's been here a long time as a driver.
Motion to accept the resignation.
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Peterson, is there a second? Mrs. France, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We thank her for her many years of service. 11:3 then, discussion possible action on hiring transportation director.
Tammy Spry.
Is there a recommendation by administration? Moved by Mr. Manning. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Brisboy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yep.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
11:4 then, discussion possible action hiring middle school FLA co-coaches. Recommendation is
Mrs. Boland and Ms. Whiteman.
I'll make that motion.
moved by Mrs. Rose, or second? By Mrs. France. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Blazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Brisboy.
Yes.
Mrs. Variance.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
Mrs. Rowe.
Yes.
Then 12 then, a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Moved by Mrs. Peterson, is there a second?
No.
No. Second by Mr. Brisboy, is all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, who was primary?
I was.
Second.
And Ms.
Ron was
Brisboy
second.
seconded.
Thank you.
Hanging out with y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody on
Yeah,
Zoom.
and you'll get those in her.
Julie, there's nothing to sign?
Oh, wait, don't leave. Sorry, you're right here.
Always is something to sign.
Sorry, Cheryl would have been upset. with me.
You might want to check.
We would have got a phone call.
Nothing for you to sign.
We would have got a phone
Brought
call.
that packet in with you.
See treasurer, let me know. I don't forget. Just to be sure. You just keep right on going.
I will.
Is there anything there for me?
Not those two.
This is Ron and Julie. Ron and Julie.
So we're good?
Sorry.
Oh, my soul.
All right.
She did that stuff. I didn't even know I had signed it. I already signed this one.
Nothing for me, Ron?
No, district clerk and Quarles and Brady. That's right.
I lost the one. I don't know where it went.
It's you and me, so one.
I signed it once.
Okay, so, and then I'm here for the second one.
Okay.
That's this.
That's- Oh, okay.
So it's the green ones now.
Okay.
Then you want that, you can save them, no envelope.
All right, thank you.
Whatever, but she's recycled that.
Yeah, we use it a lot,
Yeah.
over and over again.
Bring her
Oh,
back next month.